Hi, I'm Rahul Paith, CEO of Math. Math is a joint initiative by T-Hub and DST to foster AI innovation. At Math, we support startups in AI ML from ideation to market readiness and beyond. Hello, welcome to another session of this podcast series of Math. And today I have two fantastic guests with me. One is Mr. Sujit Jagirdar. He is currently the CIO for T-Hub, under which he is managing all the corporate relationships, revenue, and all the market access activities for startups. Also with me, I have another exciting gentleman, Mr. Anish Anthony. Anish is an Air Force veteran, and he also comes with a lot of startup experience, and he's heading T-Hub as a COO, the startup engagement of it, and he's heading all the engagements, activities, and everything around startups. So I'm pretty excited about this discussion. We'll try to keep it as candid and as casual as possible. So welcome both of you. Thanks for giving your time. And let's try to have a very engaging, meaningful, and a learning session with both of you.
Thanks a lot, Rahul. Thanks for having this podcast for us. And like you said, we'll try and keep it as candid as possible.
And thank you for having me here.
Sure. So just to start with, better, like I know probably both of you doesn't need any introduction for the startup fraternity and people who are associated with T-Hub, but just to dig a little bit about your background and how this journey started with T-Hub. So Sujit, I understand to start with you, you spent almost more than 2 decades in corporate and you worked with big giants and everyone, you worked across the world, and suddenly one morning you decided to land up in this world of uncertainty. So what was that motivating you, or what is that one thing that you thought that yes, let's do this in a different way, and what pushed you to take this call, and how are you feeling today after probably 6-7 months of joining T-Hub? How was your journey till now?
Yeah, so like the saying goes, the big step doesn't happen with the big jump, with small steps. In fact, my journey into the startup world didn't happen by accident, though, yes, I did wake up one fine day to actually land up here.
Right.
Almost 4 or 5 years prior to this, I was always engaging with startups because we were building many solutions for corporates, engaging with startups. Now, whether it was a manufacturing corporate, or a consumer giant, it was not always that the big corporates had all the solutions to work with, especially in the software services space where I was working earlier. So we were always on the lookout, and that way I was very fortunate that Wipro, where I had worked prior to joining T-Hub, was very future looking, right, in terms of finding the right solutions, not just necessarily internal.
Coming back to you, Anish, like you had probably a very exciting journey. You started your career with Air Force, you've been a pilot, you flew around the world, you're the bird of the sky, and then you landed up being an entrepreneur. You built one of the most respected companies or startups that we consider among the startup fraternity, MyGate. And then one morning again, you decide to come to T-Hub and do the thing. Probably, so what is that journey, or what was the thought process going behind that you decided to take up this role? And how was your journey? You spent probably the longest time among three of us, like 1.5 year, close to 2 year journey. So if you can share your thoughts and experience around that.
Yeah, I think for me, it has constantly been a question of what next. Right?
Okay.
So when I joined in the Air Force also, right? I mean, used to stay very close to an Air Force base. So I used to see these aircrafts flying around. यार pilot बनना है, I want to become a pilot. I joined the National Defense Academy after my 12th standard, and by the time I was 21, I put on wings. I was a pilot already.
Okay.
So now what next, right? So then I started saying, okay, let me become an instructor. Instructor led to test pilot. Then there was a new type of aircraft called drones, which came out in 2006. Okay, moved on to drones, and then moved on to Aeronautical Development Establishment, where I was helping DRDO to build out one of their India's first indigenized drones called the Rustam program. Okay. So my love or my engagement with technology started there.
Okay.
Right? At DRDO, when we were building out, we got exposed to some really amazing, awesome kind of R&D and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vijay, who's the CEO and founder of MyGate, so he said, okay, why don't you help me out with what I'm building right now? And that's where the journey has started. And my previous journey with MyGate, really thankful for the co-founders. They made my transition from the Air Force to a startup life very, very easy, right? And they were like my gurus for the next 6 years, and I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot firsthand. In fact, interestingly, I had an option of either, after the Air Force, I had an option of either joining one of the IIMs for doing a course or joining Vijay in MyGate, right?
Okay.
And thankfully, so I opted for the later, right? Because the ringside view of building out a startup from scratch
Right.
and being able to contribute from being a part of the founding team, the first 4 people who got together. And then at a certain point of time, we had almost 1,000 team members
Right.
at MyGate spread across 21 cities.
Right.
And of almost 40 lakh homes on the platform. So that was really an amazing journey. And there was so much of learning in that journey.
Right.
But at a certain point of time, MyGate Hyderabad office was in T-Hub, in the T-Hub phase 1. So the extra time that I had, that I used to mentor a lot of startups at that point of time, which got me really, really interested in a lot of different technologies that were going on. Like at MyGate, we were exposed to one kind of technology, one kind of problem statement. We're looking into one organization, right? Now here I was getting to learn from so many other technologies that are there. And that's when I realized that now innovation today is moving away from using one technology to solve a problem. And it is an amalgamation of multiple technologies to come out with a solution. It's not, yes, a product comes out to solve a problem, but then that is a result of multiple technologies coming together to solve a problem, right? And that exposure to multiple technologies was the answer to my what next, right? So here, you just look at this building itself, right? There are around 420, 430 startups physically engaging in out of this building. I get to learn so much from all of them on a daily basis. Right? I am not doing, I mean, yes, of course, there is a certain amount of mentorship which comes in. I share my experiences with them. But imagine how much I'm learning from these guys, right? And these guys are like 20s, 30s. They look at whole thing so differently. The perspective itself is different. Now, then you start thinking, okay, am I thinking in these lines? And then you start implementing them in other ways of your life.
Right.
So it's a really an exciting place to be in. वो तो 400 तो इस building में है, right? What about the other 1,500 that we are engaging virtually, digitally, externally through various means, right? What about the corporates that we are engaging? I think Sujit will hear me out, right? We have engaged with almost 600 corporates. Right now we are running 50 programs for corporates, and each of them has got 3 or 4 problem statements.
Right. Which startups are solving.
Which startups are solving for them, right? Now we get exposed to so many different problem statements, so many permutations, combinations of technologies.
Right.
So I think it's really an amazing place to be in. Every day is like
one-liner summary of your last 2 years journey, if you have to say that. I will not say one word, I will say one line, if you have to, summarize that.
Oh, my knowledge base has jumped maybe 5x in the last 2 years. And there's absolutely no, and every day it's like incremental. So it's been a journey, 2 years of learning, I think. I mean,
right.
At multiple levels. I think 2 years of learning, I think, yeah, that would probably be summarize my journey over the last 2 years.
So coming back to the next thing, just to, make it more relevant for the AI or, taking the discussion towards that direction, because today, like we are building this center math and we are at a very early stage, just the baby is born, so-called we can say, or, the startups were yet to come in that numbers. If I have to ask you, like AI, all of us know, but, one AI product that you use daily or today you might have used. So anything that comes to both of your mind, like quickly, I'm probably like with Sujit first.
Yeah, so while ChatGPT is the obvious answer, but I would go a little ahead. There are two things, especially because we are building this math AI center. I think one of the things we need to fundamentally keep in mind is how do we build that relevance, to corporates. Any solution, AI solution, right? There are a lot of AI solutions out there. Somewhere I was reading through some report saying that probably 70 to 80% may not be very relevant.
Right.
In fact, yesterday I was at an event where this was called out by somebody from an IIT, so one of the IIT professors calling out saying that not everything is relevant. So one is building that relevance part. I know I've digressed a little bit from what you asked, but I'll come back. But one is the regular daily usage. The other thing, what excites me more is really something called artificial general intelligence. If you, I'm sure we all would have heard the term, because I think that probably is bringing a lot of relevance to. I'm sure at
Our
some
day-to-day
point, you
life and
know, yeah,
working and other
exactly,
things.
because it is mimicking, you know, what we as humans are going to do, or will do, hopefully.
At some point, it will be the used to do.
Yeah, so and yeah, used to do. The point is, what we are doing today, it was being done in some way, but it is getting further automated. But what is going to be very difficult to is to replicate how we behave, organize, think, act. I think if that comes to through AI and gets applied, in any sector, any segment, any domain, that's going to be probably phenomenally going to transform, you know, the industry and contribute in a great way. But like I said, you know, so ChatGPT is everybody uses. I also use for whatever certain references, etc. Trust me, I still don't rely 100%, purely because not necessarily always the sources are known,
Right.
right? You know, so that's a challenge we'll have to deal with.
But definitely that is useful to an extent.
It is useful to an extent, right?
Right. Anish, coming back to you, apart from what ChatGPT, is there any product that you used?
So I keep experimenting with a lot of AI
I'm
apps
sure,
and AI
I'm sure.
products, right?
Right.
Mainly to get from the perspective of, in fact, I get this feed which almost feeds me 2 or 3 new AI solutions which come out on daily basis, and I just explore through them to see what new that AI can do, not from more from an implementation or daily usage perspective, but from more from the perspective of what are the boundaries that AI is expanding on a daily basis.
Right.
Today, if you ask me, the two themes that I see in AI, right? AI is going to be an inescapable horizontal, right?
Absolutely.
Irrespective of which sector you're
You
from,
can't
which
escape.
technology you're building,
Yeah.
it's going to be an inescapable horizontal. There are only very, very few use cases where it is going to replace something or somebody. Right now, it is a tool which optimizes your ability to do a particular thing. And that ability, it is going to be horizontal across most everything that we do.
Yeah.
I think that is like almost a given today. Today, I think people should just keep exploring the new products that AI enables today, right? Or the new use cases that AI is solving, or the problem statements that are getting solved by AI, optimization that AI is bringing into it, your ability to exploit your own bandwidth. My 8 hours of day, can now AI make it, expand it to 16 hours of productive work?
Right.
Physically, I'm still spending only 8 hours, but the output has now doubled when compared to a year before or pre-AI before. Like, I think that is how people should start thinking, ki how can I optimize my 8 hours in a day? Right? Rather than same amount of work, agar mere ko manually karna padta, to I would probably take 12 hours.
Absolutely.
Right? But now AI is going to compress that.
How it is making us efficient and more
Yes. So
productive.
for now, I think it's a great optimizing, efficientizing tool. Yeah, and I keep exploring a lot of, and to answer your question directly, I keep exploring a lot of tools
Okay,
which
there
keep
is no
coming up.
single product, so you're
No
experimenting
single
with
product. I think so. I keep downloading these apps, utilize them, use them, see where it goes, and then uninstall them, and then.
Right, right.
So, just to add to what Anish said, today, if you look at our household items themselves, right, they're all becoming intelligent. I mean, AI can be used in whatever way you want to, but intelligence in terms of can a fridge or refrigerator sense what is inside, and can it automatically place an order for you? A geyser be switched on because it
In the
knows
morning.
when you
Yeah.
wake up and when you take bath.
Right.
Right, you know, so home automation and, like you said, process automation, you know, all that is here today. It's all there. It's just that we may not be using it. I mean, at least I didn't speak about it because I don't use it on a daily basis,
Right.
but they are all there for somebody
Yeah,
is
mass
using
adoption
it.
is not there
Mass
yet.
adoption is not there, but
Yeah.
opportunity for you to experiment, get them on mood lighting. You know, mood lighting is more simpler version, not
Right.
an AI version, but intelligence is getting built everywhere. You know, so
Right.
And how do you move away from screen-centric approaches there today? Yeah, you'll probably it could well move into a voice-centric interface.
That will happen.
That will
Yeah.
happen, right? तुम कितना type करते रहोगे अभी,
And
right?
also,
Your ability to engage with a chat GPT is your ability to ask the right questions in the right frame, right? And then translate that into the right.
right. And this probably there you will relate to probably at 10 years before or 20 years back or 30 years back in India, people used to send their kids to typewriter training and all these things when they were young. You guys, I don't know if you have gone through that phase or not, but at least like people who were born in the 60s
yeah,
or
no,
50s.
it 60s was fine, and when I joined in Godrej, late 90s, right? So we had a typewriter division.
I think fundamentally it's going to move back to your ability to articulate correctly and interface with AI. Because earlier on, if you remember, the education system was to understand and to retain. Retention and reproduction
Right.
was what. So now you do not need to retain. When
It's
with
all application based.
Web 2.0, you don't need to retain because everything is there on. You don't need to retain everything. You just need to get it out at the right time.
Right.
Right. So then it comes your ability to compute in your mind was and derive learnings from previous experiences. That was what was more important because retention nahi chahiye tha. Right. So whenever you want, the data comes out to you, right, on a search, right, and your ability to compute that from your past experiences, now that is also being done to a great extent by AI.
Correct.
Right. So what is the next? The next will be the ability for you to articulate correctly on what to compute, on what do you want.
Doing the right things. Now, coming back to this discussion, like today, there are corporates which probably you need to do a lot of work in terms of convincing them how to engage with startups. But then there are other corporates like Google, like Microsoft, they're running their own startup programs. But some way, I still feel that there is still no shortage of startups coming to T-Hub or Math, and people from like Google, Microsoft, they also continue to come to T-Hub. So what is the difference that you have done that you still haven't lost your ground? You still have that value proposition. What is that you are doing differently?
First of all, again taking a step back, the size of the market requirement is so huge that I think all these incubators, like even Google's and Microsoft's, have their place, and we also will have our place. I mean, that's a
Right.
broad statement. But having said that, I believe that we are really end to end. It's not that we focus on one area and we leave the rest, because we are with the startups from the birth till the time they fly from
And
the
even
nest.
after they start flying.
After that also they are still part of the
Right.
our network and alumni, etc. And also we engage with corporates in such a way that assurance we provide, saying that it's the response to that problem. Startup in some sense is incidental, but that way startups get to experiment with corporates, and corporates also
Get
get
to
to experiment with, under the umbrella of T-Hub that's providing that end-to-end support.
Right.
And there is enough space, I still feel. Only thing is we need to obviously continue to evolve the model, right? So wherever there are gaps, we are trying to address, fix, so that I see it more of a the other C, collaboration with the same Microsofts and Googles, not the original C, which is compete.
No, that is pretty evident of all the work that you are doing, your team is doing. It is pretty evident because you have the startups also, you have these corporates also. Everybody is coming together and doing the work. But yes, coming back to the startup questions, like Anish, like to make the startups acceptable by the corporates, like they are coming up with a lot of solutions, and they always have, not just corporates for that matter, they have this market access requirement for which they want someone to either acquire them, invest in them, or give them that opportunity. How are your programs or your team or the initiatives that you are taking are helping the startups to prepare for it?
Right. So I think the first piece to understand, right? Like
Right.
it's a fundamental demand supply gap.
Correct.
Now, corporates have to understand that today technology is changing very fast. We have a thesis which says that the half-life of technology today is just about 8 months, which means in 8 months it's going to be half as relevant, in 16 months, 1/4, and in 24 months you're out of the game. Right? So if you're building out a product which is going to come out 2 years from now, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Now, corporates have to beat that half-life cycle because there is some startup who's already building at that pace and starting to get into the market, starting to disrupt the market. It has turned to innovation-led mindset rather than an invention-led mindset, which was there previously. Right? So the only way to beat that half cycle of 8 months, if they are opening out their problem statements a little more through open innovation and looking for solutions from the startup ecosystem. For all you know, some startup has already been working for 2 years on the same problem statement. So now your cycle becomes just 2 months. You just need to find the right startup who's solving a similar problem that you have, right?
Right.
And similarly, the startups also have been developing a problem. For them to get the first step into the door is becoming a challenge, right? Because why would a corporate take up a startup who's unproven, coming out with a new technology? And that is where we play the role of an interface, right? Whereas we say, okay, we observe them, we work with them, and they've been working with us as a part of our programs for the past 2 to 3 years. So we understand the founder, we understand the product, we understand the solution that they're trying to create. And we go back to the corporates and say, hey, you know, this is what he is doing. And
Right.
we've been seeing them for 2 years, and it makes it worth your while to give him a shot. So that opening conversation, it becomes very important for the startup, because it, at a certain sense, we are sort of showcasing him or selling him to the corporate.
Right.
Firstly, and secondly, he has to pitch to the right corporate.
Absolutely.
So there might be 40, 50 corporates out there. We figure out which is the right fit for this startup to pitch. So his hit rate becomes really very high. That he's not hitting at 100 and then scoring that one hit, direct hit. We bring it down to the 2 or 3 or 4 which are relevant to him, because we do the filtering, we do the sieving from the both from the corporate side and from the startup side. Because the
Right.
corporate now doesn't want to engage with 200, 300 startups.
absolutely.
Who does the filtering? Who removes the shaft from the grain? We do the filtering again. So from both sides, I think that is where we bring the value. Filtering out the right startups for the problem statement by the corporate, and filtering out the right corporate for the startup, and showcasing the value proposition of the startup to the corporate.
Right.
Right? And because of the history of T-Hub, the impact that we are creating, and the brand that we've been able to build out, the corporates tend to take us far more seriously. And once we give them, and we've been giving them consistent good experiences, which means the hit rate is really very high, then there's a sense of trust which starts keep building with T-Hub, and then they take our startups very, very seriously, which is really important for the ecosystem. So how we manage to do that is through multiple programs, right? There is one-to-one, which means a corporate comes and says, hey, I want a startup in this solution. So we highlight the right startup and do a one-to-one connection. Then there is a one-to-many, which means that he says, okay, I want to do, startup comes and says, I want to engage with multiple corporates, whoever has got this problem statement. So we take that one startup and engaging with multiple corporates who might be suiting or who might be aligning with this client profile.
Right.
Right? Then we do a many-to-many, which is we have an event, we bring 20 corporates, like for example, the latest one we did was a prop tech event. We brought 30 of Hyderabad's and India's, in fact, best builders into a room.
Okay.
Right? And we got 20 startups in the audience and 10 startups to showcase on the stage their products, right? So, which immediately translated into business on both sides. So, there are many corporates sitting in the audience and there are many startups who are presenting. So, it's a many-to-many format. Right? So, moment you start doing this across multiple verticals, across multiple startups, just imagine the kind of connections that you're building, right? 20 startups, 30 corporates. That is 600 connections you built in a matter of 4 hours.
And there like comes my next question, like some part of it we covered initial part of the discussion, Anish, is that, the AI in ethics, that is too much into discussion today because there are a lot of concerns also coming out in the market that AI is probably very dangerous. Then even statements from very big leaders have come up that AI is very dangerous for our future, and if it is not handled properly. And also similar concerns are also there on the corporate side also. So in terms of that, and you are trying to tame the most difficult animal called startup. So when you are dealing with them, how are you, or your programs, or your different initiatives you mentioned, how you instill the thought process among the startups, and where it is very important for them, and how you think it can be instilled? Or second way, the thing is that they are the first one who will be very uncomfortable with this kind of processes and too much restrictions and all these things. So there is a pushback from the startup side, obviously, which we understand, but there is a necessity also. So how you think, and what are your thought process around ethics in AI?
Creativity, moment you start putting ring fences, right, around what you can do and what you cannot do, then you start limiting the possibilities of the creativity of that particular solution. But having said that, there definitely is a legal position on what you can do and what you cannot do. The moment, as long as you're not crossing the legal position, my view is this, right? As long as your product is not crossing the legal guideline which has been set up, right?
Right.
Or is not enabling somebody else to cross a legal this thing, the guideline that it's in set up. I think it's fair enough for people to go there out and explore, right? I also believe that is one piece of it. The second piece of is what you build is only as ethical as what you are, right? As a startup, if you are built unethical core, right, you will end up not putting those fail safes that are required to prevent misuse of your product.
But sometimes, Anish, doesn't it also restricts the innovator, because if he's building a product or a technology, sometimes he also doesn't envision or he also doesn't know the end usage of it.
Yeah.
Because he built with a very novel idea and his use case was very different. But
Correct.
after the technology is built, probably there are different people who adopted it in a very for wrong purpose or something.
Yeah.
So how we educate the startups for that? Because in a startup, probably they are, for corporate it is not a problem. They are protecting their technologies in a very smart way. They have all the processes and everything. For startups, it is not there. Also, sometimes they don't want too many restrictions, because as many people use their technology, it is like a validation for them. It is like a lot of people are accepting it. They also get the marketing, publicity and everything.
Yeah. So which comes to the next point, right? Where I build something with a core of ethics in it,
Right.
but there is another person who's unethical, who's using the same technology for an
Some other
unethical
scenario, yeah.
reason. I think right now where AI is in a very exploratory sort of a phase, very exploratory part of its journey itself, right? Now we have two ways to it. Either you curb the exploratory part of it and say, no, you cannot do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, right? Which means that in a certain sense, you're curbing the creativity or the ability of a particular technology. Now, I don't think we've reached that line yet. AI is being utilized, at least not that we know of. Or not. Such big use cases have not yet come out. Maybe they are happening and yet to come out.
Deepfake or
right?
things like that are few of the examples.
Yes,
like,
are few of the examples, but then people have started to get sensitized to factor in the possibility that something is a deepfake today. People are saying, okay, don't believe everything that you see, because AI can produce deepfakes, and hence please put your own sensor onto it and saying that this might or might not be true. Right?
Right.
People have started to looking everything contextually. Right? The deepfake, it is very improbable that somebody like that would say something like this.
The only thing, Rahul, is corporates, it's going to be a binary, so hence I think startups need to be fully aware that, if they are using certain means, so that's where today is this discussion about explainable AI. So you will all get into that. Auditing would happen around this as well, around what you are building, what code you are building, right? At some point, that kind of startup will get caught, and then it's a bigger question mark on our kind. I mean, the kind of adoption that the startup has done. So there need to be guardrails. Like he said, personally, how ethical are you and what you are doing. But yes, somebody is going to use it for a different means. I think the regulations and whatever guardrails that are going to get built, hopefully, will try and catch that. But it's going to be a binary for corporates as far as corporates are concerned.
Right. So coming back to the last section of the discussion, I understand like we had a fantastic discussion. We covered a lot of things, and if I have to really ask, like when we were talking about AI ethics and everything, we spoke out a few applications. In T-Hub, is there any initiative that you have taken to engage smartly with startups, or to help the startups, or to engage with corporates to help the corporates, or to make everybody's life in this premise or in the ecosystem of T-Hub easier or more smarter? So is there any new AI initiative that you would like to share with everyone?
I think the best AI initiative is you are leading that initiative.
I was about to say that apart from
I'm going to
this
put that
center.
question. I'm going to put that question back to you at a certain level. But no, I think a couple of things that we are doing, right?
Right.
We also, so there is a great mentorship program that we run at T-Hub, right? And so what we've done is we've empaneled some really great mentors across domains, across technologies, and across business models, right? So I think most of the businesses are that they are a cross section, they are an intersection of domain or
Domains,
sector.
right.
Horizontals would probably be technologies, and business models would be around that, right? So there are a lot of good technology and AI mentors that are available for startups to leverage from, right? And apart from that, also what you are trying to put together is an amazing establishment where you get the best of the AI guys here, which is like a boon for the rest of the startups in the building. At full capacity, this building is likely to have around 1,000 startups in the building, 800 to 1,000 startups in the building, right? And imagine, so T-Hub is looking for math to be that torchbearer of knowledge, a knowledge repository when it comes to AI. So that anybody, any startup, any other startup from any other floor can come out and leverage the strength that you have been able to create, that you will be able to create from an AI perspective, that domain expertise from an AI perspective. But for now, I think our AI related support, one of the initiatives is the mentorship program that we run extensively. The second is there are a lot of corporates who are willing to do pro bono consultancy for any kind of a support, not only limited to AI but beyond AI as well.
Beyond AI,
Yeah, pro bono support. AWS does a lot of sessions for us. GitHub lot of sessions for us, right? So these guys do a lot of orientation sessions where the startups can come and attend. These are the one-to-many initiatives. So the mentorship is a one-to-one initiative. The one-to-many initiatives could be by our mentors doing master classes, or corporates coming and bringing the best inline business practices for the startups. So they're both one-to-one and one-to-many engagements that we do for AI.
So actually, I will again rephrase the question that I was trying to ask. Any AI product that you have adopted to improve the efficiency of the operation that you are doing? So any
multiple. I think,
Right.
And that is at a very department specific level, right? Because I think we cannot find one AI solution which fits across the board for all of that. There are AI solutions, but for example, we use an AI solution to record all our meeting and create notes out of it. Right, and do the next action point.
And
so what it does is sits through
that
your
solution is
meeting.
provided by one of the T-Hub
One of the
startups?
T-Hub startups itself,
Okay.
right? So it sits through your meeting. It makes a concise note of that meeting.
Minutes of the meeting.
Minutes of the meeting, sort of a thing. Summary of the meeting, and then it also gives you the next action point that needs to be done.
Wonderful.
Right? So that is only for the meeting piece, right? Our creative team, our marketing team, again use a lot of tools, AI related tools, to come out with creatives and come out with videos and come out with that for us, right? To come out with those static creatives or dynamic creatives or video creatives to be able to in their existing role, right? So I think one initiative that we are driving is that how can every element or every department in T-Hub utilize some form of AI or AI tool in their day-to-day work. Like the marketing example is something that I gave.
Right.
We are using tools again. The funding desk is starting to use tools to pull out VCs, investors, matching, and all of that stuff for themselves. Note taker, if I may call it, right? That is a horizontal across all departments. So we are evaluating a lot of those tools to be utilized.
And adopting it. Yeah.
And adopting it, of course.
Right. Great. I think that was a wonderful discussion. That brings us to the end of the session. Just to summarize, probably, I think the key takeaway for me as part of T-Hub Math and also as an entrepreneur, I will say that I get the confidence that after this session, people who will be listening to this, they will be very confident that T-Hub is doing a lot as an ecosystem to give the market access. There is a very serious effort from T-Hub side and like leaders from your side to make the marriage and the relationship between startup and corporate flourish. So that is definitely one key takeaway for us. There is definitely, Sujit, you have emphasized that it is not yesterday, it is already happening that corporates have adopted AI and there is a very good potential for startups who are working on those fields that they don't have to always fly back to US or some other place to sell their product or something. Here in India, they have decent market, decent companies which are ready to adopt their solutions. And Anish, you have emphasized on the fact that the programs that you are building and the team is building here, how they are making startups ready so that they can present themselves in front of investors, corporates, and everyone. And yes, AI is in all of our life, and we are making life better with AI.
Sure.
Right? Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Do like, share, and subscribe to our social media channel to know more about AI and ML.